Hey everyone. Okay, so I'm going to talk today about the impact of nutrition and learning disabilities and how this often gets overlooked when it comes to like in the education system, whether you're getting a psychoed evaluation, whether you're talking to teachers or principals or school officials or whomever about what you can do to help your child. This is just something, first of all, they're not trained in. It's not, I would say that they're negligent. It's just something that there's not enough awareness around, period. And even I would say, in general, in the medical community, not enough awareness about the impact of nutrition on learning difficulties. There's a ton of awareness now on the role that nutrition can play in ADHD and ASD and all of those types of things. So if you're super frustrated because you feel like you've tried everything, you have your kid going to maybe a really good school, you have them in really good reading programs, maybe you're even doing like amazing things like brain training like I do in my program, and you still find yourself hating evenings, and then there's the nightly homework battles, and you're just kind of, really frustrated with all of that, then you really want to listen up and tune into what could be some key nutrients that could be impacting your child. And I want to be clear, these are the ones that in the research is typically found to be, the ones that kids with learning disabilities, like reading specifically, are deficient in. That being said, every kid is different, and a lot of nutrients are brain nutrients. These that I'm going to be talking about are definitely some of the key ones. So, number one is zinc. There is a saying that zinc makes you think, and this is so true. It really affects processing speed. It's been linked to be one of the nutrients that kids are most deficient in who have learning disabilities. These kids, when they tested their sweat, actually, they had significantly low levels of zinc compared to their neurotypical peers. And if there is zinc deficiency, by the way, it will be replaced by heavy metals. So that's why also these kids, their sweat showed to have higher toxin loads, particularly of heavy metals, which we know will cause issues with processing, reading, learning, cognitive impairments, and so forth, whether it's with children or adults. So that's definitely number one nutrient you want to look at. Sometimes you can gauge it with very simple symptomology type screenings, like does your kid have, doesn't have to have a lot, like just one or two even white spots on their fingernails. I was really sick in November, and I actually had a white spot, and I know it was because my body was just burning up so much zinc from trying to, deal with the illness and so forth. So I needed to top up my zinc for sure. Other nutrient, this is the number one nutrient that kids with dyslexia, reading disabilities, learning disabilities are deficient in, and that is essential fatty acids, omega-3s, that type of thing. This is essential for proper brain function as well as functioning of the retina. 30% of the retina is composed of this, as well as, is it like 40 or 60% of the brain? So very, very important. And what the study showed on more than one occasion is when they supplemented with omega-3s, these kids made significant gains, like to even huge gains, with their reading, writing, processing, as well as even dyspraxia. So really, really important for brain development, coordination, and all of those skills that are necessary for fluent reading and writing. Um, okay, so this one is more related to ADHD, but I wanted to mention it because I know a lot of our kiddos who have reading and learning difficulties also have ADHD or issues with focus or hyperactivity. And a lot of these kids were found to be deficient in B6. B6 in this study out of Michigan University had such a profound effect that they started calling it nature's Ritalin, because some of these kids were actually able to go off of their medications after about 3 to 6 months of supplementing with a really good quality B6 supplement. So as I said, learning and schools and all of these things very rarely look at the role of nutrition when it comes to learning and so forth. And the focus is really on practicing the skills that is necessary for these kids to learn, which is huge. Definitely we need to do those things, but we need to start with a bottom-up approach, as I always say. And bottom-up approach, people will typically say, starts with things like developing the lower brain levels and making sure there's, not weak connections, and strengthening if there is weak connections. But really it starts with good nutrition, because you cannot build really strong, healthy connections if your brain doesn't have the raw materials to do those functions. So you can do all the brain training in the world, but if you're not getting enough omega-3 fatty acids, or zinc or B6 or whatever it is for certain neurotransmitters to be manufactured that are necessary for memory or focus or whatever the case may be, that's where you're going to really hit a wall. So nutrition is huge, and we really leave that piece out, and it's a huge piece of the equation when it comes to improving learning difficulties. So I want to say as well that deficiencies are really only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to balancing brain chemistry. That's one of the things we look at in my 6-month program. It's definitely not where it ends. And I want to say these are the things though that why kids feel stupid and feel so frustrated, because they're in tutoring, they're in these really good programs, and if they're not seeing progress, this is where they're going to get really discouraged, because they feel like, see, nothing's working, nobody can fix me. I can't tell you how many times kids have said that to me. It's so heartbreaking. So if you're thinking, I know some of you might be thinking, but we eat super healthy. I don't get it. We eat super healthy. I don't think my kid has these deficiencies. We're a super health conscious family. Or you might be thinking, well, my other kids don't have learning disabilities, so I know that my child this can't be a factor because the other kids would be struggling as well. So there's a few factors to consider if you're thinking along those lines. Number one is genetics plays a huge role. So one of the things that we consider in my program is if there is like a learning disability, and if there's nutritional deficiencies or other biochemical imbalances related to nutrition and so forth, there could be genetic factors that come into play. Certain families have like a genetic mutation where maybe they can't metabolize or convert omega-3s into DHA if it's from a plant-based source. So if they're accessing their omega-3s from vegan sources, and they don't carry the gene that allows them to convert that to a animal or to a DHA, then it doesn't matter. It's a genetic variant, and we have to address that genetic variant. And it doesn't mean that's the case with every kid. It's just we have to be aware of these sometimes ethnic genetic differences are not necessarily mutations. It's just the way that that person from where they evolved, their origins, if you will say their ethnicity evolved, that's how their genetics are. So it could be just bio individuality, or it could be literally a mutation where I have certain kids or clients, and this has been known for a while, that there's certain genes where dyslexia runs in the family, and those families have a harder time metabolizing zinc or converting omega-3s in general, metabolizing omega-3s. And so they need higher amounts, or they burn it off faster. They're fast or slow oxidizers. So all of that plays a role. So number one, genetics plays a role with nutrition and so forth. It's not just, are you, eating properly and all of that type of stuff. Number two is absorption. Okay, so maybe your kid's eating really well, but do they have low stomach acid? Do they have leaky gut that's preventing those nutrients from either being broken down properly, being absorbed properly? Things that can contribute to that is like if they were on different medications, maybe they're just sensitive, maybe they were on antibiotics because they had to be, and so that compromised their gut bacteria. Those are all factors right there. And then other factors in general that can affect learning, which I kind of touched on already, is toxicity. So I mentioned heavy metals and chemicals. That will mess with brain chemistry, and that can be improved through detoxification, gut healing, good nutrition, all of that type of stuff. And then lastly, food sensitivities, another thing we cover in my program. I've mentioned a few times, I've had clients where we remove like dairy, and all of a sudden within 2 weeks, the letter reversals are completely gone. Is that always the case? Is it always that simple? I wish, but no, it's not. But these are all can all play a role with how much your child is going to be impacted, or how much is going to slow down their learning, reading, writing, all of that type of stuff. So all that to say that there's nothing wrong with getting a psycho-ed evaluation, especially if your insurance is covering it and so forth. That's fine if you want to go that route, but you need to know that that's not the end of the story in terms of what you can do in terms of the recommendations. And you really want to dive into the biochemistry piece. And obviously, as I always say, you want to look into what's causing the breakdown. So if you find out the psycho-ed evaluation, your child has poor auditory processing, and that's causing their ADHD, or that's causing their learning difficulty, you need to ask yourself why. So why do they have poor auditory processing? Is it because they have damage to their auditory nerve from heavy metals or chemical toxicity or something of the sort? Do they have multiple ear infections that have affected the cilia in their ear and have affected or impacted their phonemic awareness? We can work on healing that with nutrition. Do they just have left brain underdevelopment, so their auditory cortex is not as strong, and do we need to build that through brain training exercises? So dig deep into the root cause, as I always say. And so this is why this month I have my advanced brain screening on promo, $100 off. Normally it's $297 and it's on for $197. And basically that will walk you through many of basically uncovering the underlying root causes. So this is good for people whether they've had a diagnosis, don't want a diagnosis, whatever the case may be, into digging further under those layers into root causes in terms of, is it weak connections? Is it imbalanced brain chemistry caused by nutritional deficiencies? Is it, certain neurotransmitters that are off and so forth, and or one hemisphere that's overdeveloped? And that way you'll come out of that really demystifying, basically. Now, more than understanding, demystifying why your child has the struggles they do. Because I know this is the thing. I know I was drove myself crazy with it when my daughter was struggling. And also the thing that parents tell me all the time, moms ask me all the time, do you think it was this? Do you think it was that? Which totally breaks my heart, because I know that deep down they somewhat think, if I would have done this differently or would have done that. It's not about what you could or couldn't do or didn't do. It's just about uncovering root causes, because then if we can identify these factors that could be contributing to the breakdown, then we can fix them. So I will put the link for the advanced brain screening in the comments below if you want to grab that while it's on promo, and reach out if you have any other questions. Have a great day, everyone.